Hello. Police forces across Europe are searching for a 24-year-old Tunisian man suspected of being behind the Berlin truck attack, which left 12 people dead. It's emerged that Anis Amri had been under surveillance for 6 months this year, with known links to Islamist networks before the operation was halted. German officials say he may be armed and dangerous. They've offered a substantial reward for information leading to his arrest. Our correspondent Jenny Hill reports from Berlin.
You're looking at Europe's most wanted man, Anis Amri, the only suspect in the investigation into an attack which shattered Germany. Prosecutors warn he may be armed, dangerous, and they're offering a €100,000 reward.
There's a new suspect. We are searching for him. We'll keep investigating every lead. We issued a warrant for this suspect's arrest at midnight. The warrant covers the whole of Germany and most of Europe.
We're learning more about the 24-year-old Tunisian. He arrived in Germany last year. He was refused asylum, but granted temporary leave to stay. The security services admit he was known to them, considered a threat because of his links to one of Germany's most notorious Islamist networks. And he'll be hard to find. He used 6 different names and 3 nationalities.
This person attracted the attention of several security services in Germany through his contact with a radical Islamist.
The hijacked lorry is yielding grim evidence. Documents leading to the suspect and DNA. It's thought Amri fought with the man who should have been behind the wheel before shooting him dead. But it was 24 hours before police identified him as a suspect. First, they arrested and released an innocent man, giving Amri a vital head start. Today, flowers for the dead, prayers for the injured. The German foreign minister was joined at the scene of the attack by his Italian counterpart. Among those missing and feared dead, Fabrizia Di Lorenzo, who comes from L'Aquila. Dalia El-Kayam, who's from Israel, also hasn't been seen since the attack. Her husband Rami is seriously ill in hospital. A time perhaps for faith. Tonight, a spontaneous gathering at a Berlin synagogue.
The ceremony was extremely important because this attack was not an attack on Berlin or on Germany. It was not an attack on Jews or on Christians. This was an attack on all of us.
Across the city, a vigil of a different kind. The attack, the arrest warrant have reignited a national debate. The anti-immigrant party Alternative für Deutschland blame Angela Merkel and her refugee policy for this attack. So does Geert Wilders. The far-right Dutch politician posted this picture today. The German Chancellor's hands covered in blood.
Do you blame Angela Merkel for what happened?
Angela Merkel ist eine sehr humanistisch denkende Frau.
Angela Merkel, she says, is a humanitarian woman. She did the right thing a year ago. No one could know this would happen.
We are a free world, and if we want to stay free, things like this will happen.
This country feels nervous. Extra security for Christmas markets. After all, Amri is still at large. But this investigation does now have a face and a focus. That is, for some here perhaps, a little light in the darkness. Jenny Hill, BBC News, Berlin.
I spoke just now to Mike Pregent from the Hudson Institute. He was an intelligence officer and foreign fighter analyst with US Central Command. I said it's difficult to understand how Anis Amri wasn't identified as a suspect when he was well known to the authorities.
Right. It seems like he's the one guy that should have been off the streets and been in some sort of temporary detention before he was sent back to Tunisia. So it is interesting that he's one of 550 now individuals in Germany that the law enforcement and intelligence agencies are tracking.
Is it possible, too, that there's too much focus on the threat of a massive planned big-scale attack, not enough perhaps on these relatively low-level, low-tech, apparently random attacks which can cause just as much terror?
Well, that's the problem. If an individual is willing to kill and doesn't mind being killed in the process, it's very difficult to stop. This individual, like we found out with other cases, law enforcement was aware of this individual. What's interesting about Anis here is that he wanted to survive the attack. He fled the scene. He didn't martyr himself. And so that to me shows that he wanted to survive, maybe build some sort of status with ISIS as he got credit for this attack based on leaving his documents in the vehicle.
It wasn't necessarily a help, I suppose, too, or it isn't always necessary help when people get information from the police get information from the public that is misleading, that may well have happened after this attack.
Yeah, the Pakistani that was detained allowed Anis Amri to actually move about, but it may have also been a police tactic where they say that they have somebody in custody, hoping that he actually makes a mistake when he thinks that the heat is off of him. So we don't know yet whether he took advantage of this or whether the police actually got some tips based on him thinking that the police had their man.
Very difficult for people to have confidence, isn't it, if we know that police are having such trouble tracking possible suspects. It's very difficult to know what they can do.
Well, they had him under surveillance, and they dropped the surveillance. We should try to find out, did it become too difficult to follow him with these different aliases and the way he was able to move about? Or was it simply a manpower issue? And it's most likely a manpower issue and a resource issue. It's very difficult. And in times like this, the public tends to inundate local law enforcement and intelligence agencies with tips that further constrain their resources and manpower.